Hi, I'm Mars from StrataGames, and today we're playing some more Gruul Monsters in Pauper. And there are a couple new / old cards that I'm trying out in this deck that are not exactly standard. Zan is a new card that for 3 mana you can end web, which is return a creature you control that's tapped to its owner's hand in addition to paying the cheaper cost. So for 3 mana you can return a tapped creature and get this 4/3 that tutors a basic land onto the battlefield tapped. So you can turn 1 Arbor Elf, and turn 2 you can use the Arbor Elf to get 3 mana, bring it back to your hand in web, and then you ramp a land. Now obviously you're also bouncing the Arbor Elf, so you ramp a land, but you also have bounced the Arbor Elf, so you kind of unramp a little bit. So not necessarily perfect synergy there, but this is also a reason that we're going to be playing Llanowar Visionary instead of the more aggressive 3-drops. Some of them. We're still playing Repurposers, but instead of Jewel Thieves, we're playing some Llanowar Visionaries because this is a creature that can manually tap even without attacking, and then also has a nice ETB to return to your hand with Zan, and it just ramps you pretty nicely. I'm also trying just a couple, this is a bit of an experiment, Emerald Charm. This is, basically I'm trying this as kind of a ritual. For a green mana you can untap a permanent, and that permanent could be one of your lands that's enchanted with Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth, which could give you an additional 1 or 2 mana, which could let you cast one of your spells a little bit cheaper, so it's kind of a one-time use Arbor Elf activation. But it also has a little other utility, destroy a non-aura enchantment, so if there's a makeshift munitions or a Nyxborn Hydra or something like that that you need to blow up, that can be pretty nice. Obviously, Nyxborn Hydra not enchanting a creature, but it also makes a creature lose flying until end of turn, and with the initiative, it's actually pretty relevant to make creatures not have flying. We do have some Reachers with Writhing Chrysalis and Annoyed Altasaur, and a 1-of, it's hiding here, but we're playing a 1-of Nyxborn Hydra. But if we don't have one of those making a creature lose flying, it could be pretty interesting. So this is definitely an experiment. I'm only playing 2 of these just to see if it's worthwhile. And other than that, pretty standard stuff. We have boarding parties, those hunters we mentioned, a couple Bannerhide Crew Shocks. Also, a lot of the numbers may look weird here. A lot of times people play 4 of all of these cards, and I have a lot of 2 and 3-ofs because I'm trying out a lot of new interesting cards. So some Bannerhide Crew Shocks, we got the 3-drops I mentioned, a couple Malevolent Rumbles. I'm also playing a couple Ram-Throughs. I think that the deck works very nicely without any interaction, which is nice. But by having no interaction, your opponent can sometimes make plays knowing that you probably won't have any interaction. So even just seeing 1 Ram-Through in game 1, whether we use it or, cast a Rumble and turn it over, our opponent has to think a little bit harder about some of their plays. Then in our sideboard, we have a couple Breath Weapons, 4 Weather the Storms, 2 Heritage Reclamation, 4 Deglamour, and 3 Relics of Progenitus. Pretty standard stuff in the sideboard. So let's take it for a league and see how we do. All right, on the play here, and we have turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, turn 2 Visionary into, if we get a 3rd land, we could turn 3 Avenging Hunter. No, I could turn 2 Wild Growth and Visionary, turn 3 Avenging Hunter on the play. This seems kind of insane. We don't have an Arbor Elf, and yet this still feels like it's going to be the nuts. So let's just start with a Wild Growth on our forest. Draw Forge Bridge. So Jund, Grixis, something like that. We're going to sprawl on red here, then Visionary. We also get a forest, so we could play a 6-drop if we get one, but I don't think there's anything better to play than an Avenging Hunter here. They're going to play a Wellspring, so it could still be either of them. Writhing Chrysalis, I could play that for 4, then it gives us 2 mana back, 1, 2, so that's not quite enough to play the Hunter, so we're just going to cast one of these right now. And with the second one in hand, we can kind of turbo through the initiative. Turn 3 on the play initiative is kind of crazy. We'll get a mountain just in case they can blow up this Utopia Sprawl or anything, and we'll swing since we don't have anything else to play. Next turn we have 7 mana, so I could play Chrysalis and Avenging Hunter. There's a Kurt Clan Shaman. Well, that changes things a little bit. They could give it Death Touch. We're just going to Forge, try to force them to use that right away. Boarding Party. They could have Toxin Analysis. They could have Toxin Analysis right here, so I guess we don't really want to cast anything. I'll attack with both of these. If they don't block and don't use the toxin or anything, yeah, of course, they do have it. Pretty annoying. I think we're still in a very, very good spot, but we could have crushed them a lot quicker. So now I could Chrysalis, and we still have 4 mana. I think I'm just going to ramp with Zan. This is kind of the least aggressive creature, I suppose, but like next turn I can play a Boarding Party, we attack for 10, or I could do Chrysalis and Hunter next turn this way. They do have their own Chrysalis. Yeah, I guess if I had played a Hunter, I could attack with that. This one can't, but that's okay. We're going to trap them. Another Chrysalis. So let's just cast one of those and crack 1 spawn here, cast another one. Might be a little overkill if they have another Krark and Toxin, but I think the chances that they're probably, if they're on a normal spread, they're probably on like 3 Krarks, 2 Toxins, and so the chances they find another pair is unlikely. Either way, I still have the archives going for us, and the initiative in general. There's an Infiltrator. They're going to grow both their guys by sacking a spawn. Fanatical Offering the clue. Okay, they're passing the turn. We're going to draw an extra card. Altasaur and a Forest. With a Forest, I could crack all these spawn and play both Hunter and Boarding Party. And if our Hunter goes to the throne, we could maybe find another Boarding Party, just attack with everything. Let's go for a Boarding Party first, see what we cascade into. Wild Growth, sure. And that lets us save one of these spawn, or it lets us cast an Annoyed Altasaur. No, we're 1 mana short of that. So we'll cast the Hunter, go to the throne, find another Hunter or a Altasaur, but that doesn't cascade, or a Chrysalis, but that doesn't grow. So yeah, it's got to just be another Hunter, I think. Back into the initiative. Let's attack with these 3. Jump the Boarding Party, block the Chrysalis. They sack their spawn to grow their Chrysalis, then we can sack ours so that it'll still eat theirs. They have a Cast Down? No. Fanatical Offering, sacking the Chrysalis. Okay, so they're going to take 6 here. And I suppose if they have a Krark that can deal 7 to everything, they would need 1 more artifact. Then they could wipe our entire board and attack us for 13 with the Infiltrator. That's actually pretty unfortunate if they do have that. They would specifically want to not have Death Touch. I mean, Death Touch would still be great here, but then they couldn't take the initiative because they'd lose their own guy, but 7 artifacts would just wipe our team away. They cast a Blood Fountain. That can get back a Krark, and they have the artifacts. It's possible we did overextend a little bit. I realized that was possible. They are going to have 1 enormous creature wipe our board. We do get to cascade off the Altasaur, so I think it really matters what we get off of that. Like if we find a Boarding Party or something, we can take the initiative right back. If we don't, we're going to have to just chump with the Altasaur if we can't find another creature. So yeah, we overextended a little bit, and they got the exact out they needed. I guess also the taking the initiative gets them a basic, which is pretty nice when they just sacked all their lands, including their red sources. So this is probably how not to play against Jund. Just throw everything on the field. There's an Arbor Elf. Well, let's hope we hit a Boarding Party. Bannerhide Crew Shock is something. No haste. And they're still at 10 life, so they are going to forge onto the Infiltrator. They play a Wellspring and a Landscape. They can't attack. Hydra off the top. Ooh, okay, Rumble's pretty good. Let's hope that could find a Hydra or something. Bannerhide Crew Shock. I can reinforce and scavenge to make 2 8-power attackers, put them to 2, and take the forge, and then the trap. I guess if I just attack with these 2, I can hit them for 6. Assuming these don't die, I can trap them next turn, and that should be lethal. I think that's the play. It's possible if they end up with like another Krark here, they can wipe our small guys, maybe we'll die. Block the Altasaur, we will reinforce onto the Bannerhide, so we get to forge. We'll forge onto the Arbor Elf. I do have the Crew Shock, which can scavenge from the graveyard, but I don't have enough mana unless I want to either sack my spawn or tap my elf, either of which makes it so I have 1 fewer blocker, and so I don't want to do that. I would rather have 2 blockers, so they have to clear them both to kill me, and if they can't, then I win with the trap is the goal. They play a Wellspring. Looking for something. All right, we end up winning that game despite somewhat throwing, just playing 1 or 2 too many creatures. We get a bunch of Deglammers and Heritage Reclamations, which I think is going to be better than our Ram Throughs. And Zan does feel like it does not measure up very nicely against Chrysalis, which is a 4/5. Maybe cut a couple Rumbles since we're bringing in a bunch of instants here. All right, game 2 here. Unfortunately, we don't have enough lands/ramp. This one has Deglammer and Heritage Reclamation and then a Visionary. I guess since we're on 6, I'm going to keep it and hope that we can set them back enough on their mana base to make up for the fact that we are not ramping or anything. They have a Cleansing Wildfire and they target their wrong land. So unless they were really scared that we were going to target their bridge because they fixed, but that's an interesting call from them. I'm going to punish that even harder by getting rid of their bridge. They have a swamp here, but nothing else. We get to Visionary. It's going to be 5 mana next turn. No red, so even after Repurposer, we can't Boarding Party quite yet. Unless I can find a mountain off the top. They find a landscape. We do find a mountain off the top. Cast Repurposer. We still just want to play a forest here because in case I want to use this Heritage Reclamation. 6. Next turn, I could actually Altasaur if I'd prefer. They find a mountain. And they have a Chrysalis. They do play a Vault of Whispers, so I could blow that up. But then we have... then I can still Boarding Party if I want to do that. But they have 5 mana now. There's probably better stuff to blow up with this, or exile from the graveyard, so let's just leave it. And I think we'll just go for an Annoyed Altasaur, cascade into an Arbor Elf. Not the best. A Fanatical Offering, a Spawn, play a Bridge. I could remove 2 of their lands with the Glamour and Reclamation, but I think for now we just go for a Boarding Party. Maybe should have used Visionary, because if I find like a Wild Growth, then Arbor Elf could untap it for more. We find a Reclamation. Guess we will blow up their Vault of Whispers here. They tap it for a black. We're gonna move to combat, see if they want to cast something down, or Fanatical Offering or something. Cast down the Altasaur. Yep, that is annoying. We can get in with the Boarding Party then. They don't even chump with the Spawn. Pass the turn, and we'll probably deglamour away their bridge in the upkeep. But for now, we're just going to swing at the Boarding Party, do block with the Spawn, and sack it. In that case, we'll deglamour the bridge right now. Tap for a green. We'll cast a Chrysalis. Play another bridge, another forest. I think we just attack with everybody. They can eat like one of these smaller guys, maybe cast down a bigger guy, but I think it's worthwhile now that we have enough creatures. Like, I guess if they eat this, cast this down, they still take like 7. It's not bad. Right now they're taking 11. Feels like they probably do have the cast down, but I might as well make sure this is lethal just in case. That's now 12 damage. They do have the cast down. Gonna sack the other Spawn anyway. Hit him for 7 and pass the turn. Cast down the Chrysalis. Krark to wipe the small guys. Just for 1. So they're going to leave a Visionary here. I guess that's fine. They're going to attack. That's interesting. If I get a Boarding Party or a Hydra, this is just lethal unless they have something for 1 mana. I think we're going to exile that Krark from the graveyard to draw a new card. It was a forest, but we also get a Chrysalis. Swing for 2, play a Chrysalis, and pass. There's a Refurb for 2 mana. So I've been holding these forests for, well, just the 1, I suppose. I also want to make sure I have enough mana in case I top deck like a Hydra or something. Utopia Sprawl, not a great draw. We're very close, but things are dwindling a little bit. There's another offering. They've used 3 offerings, 3 cast downs. There's a Refurb and a Hydra of their own. They're going on the offensive. I feel like, I guess they think they need to get aggressive. That's fair. If we get a Hydra, we probably win anyway. I guess a Boarding Party doesn't necessarily win us the game because they can block the 2 big ones. We got a lot of good draws though. Sprawl is not one of them. We do get to just attack with these guys though. They block them both and we'll pass. There's another Refurb. There's an Infiltrator. Map onto it. Pulsamarasa on top. Well, I guess if we don't draw the perfect card, we're going to lose. Don't know what the perfect card is. It's not a 4th. Was that a 4th Sprawl in a row? 3rd Sprawl and a land in a row. We have to block this, block here. I mean, I think they've been going a little aggressive, so it's possible that we could, if they overextend here, and we top deck the right card, we could maybe get there. But it's looking rough. Just attacking with the Chrysalis. Fair enough. I will just block like this. A Nyxbarn Hydra off the top would do it, unless they have their last cast down or something. Annoyed Altasaur. Let's Utopia Sprawl, just in case that becomes relevant. Here's the Altasaur into an Arbor Elf. And if they attack with everything, we will die, because Altasaur is the only thing with enough toughness to survive against the Chrysalis, but it's also the only thing that can block the Refurb. And they note that. So we're going to die. Pretty close. Unfortunate that we did not get there, especially considering the attacking their mana base and them attacking their own mana base. I guess maybe the ram throughs we shouldn't have cut here. I guess the reclamations don't seem that good. Like, they can snipe a Blood Fountain, or they can snipe a Blood Fountain or the Blood Fountain's target, or Pulsamarasa. I don't know. But they're just bad cards to cascade into, which I guess we want to keep that number down. Maybe I'll take out one of them. No lands is not going to work. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is fine. This is not the best thing ever. It's a turn 3 Chrysalis, turn 4 Boarding Party. If we top deck a Sprawl, it could be a turn 2 Chrysalis. Another Arbor Elf. Play that and attack for 1. Blood Fountain. Do they have a Krark as well to wipe both Arbor Elves away? They do, and they decide to. I did think it was possible I should leave the second Arbor Elf in hand. Looks like it might not be a big deal because I get Repurposer into Chrysalis into Boarding Party still. They play a Wellspring and miss their land. Emerald Charm looking absolutely fantastic here. That is sarcasm, of course. Swing for 3. And I guess without another land, we actually don't have a Boarding Party next turn. Refurb is definitely taking the Charm. Land off the top. To Glamour. Well, I could use that on the Refurb. I probably want to use it on their black mana though, to be honest. Swing with these two. Obviously I could also use it on one of these other ones, but we're just gonna hit for 5 and deglamour the Vault of Whispers. They find a Krark. Okay, they only have 3 artifacts. They can't kill the Chrysalis. That could kill a boarding party. Of course now I get the forest for it. They have to sack everything if they want to do that. I think that's probably fine. Then we still just have a Chrysalis and maybe something from the boarding party. They're going to sack in response. They're sack this spawn. They just let that go. Well, I guess that's pretty good for us. They just let us have the boarding party then. There's really no reason for them to do that there. They got a spawn if I didn't want to sack the other one, but like that's not even that much value. I think they would have preferred to just chump with the Krark if nothing else. And we win the game. All right, back in it. We have Sprawl. If we are lucky and draw land into like Visionary and then some other stuff. If not, we Rumble, hopefully hit a land there. Hand's not bad though. Sandstone Needle. I'm gonna assume that means Ruby Storm. Could also just be Poison Storm or something like that, or something else. Swamp. Pentad Prism. So it is Poison Storm. Cycle Alorian. We don't hit our land, so Rumble to find it, hopefully. We do find a forest. Gotta take that. And 2 mana, can't do anything else. If I find another land off the top, I still can do a turn 3 Avenging Hunter, which would be pretty good. Play a Hickory Woodlot and just pass. We do get the forest. I think Avenging Hunter's got to be the right play here. We get a forest and pass. Tap 5 for an insight. Then they prologue to Phyresis, so we are poisoned. We're obviously going to forge. We just get a forest. So I could just play a Zan, or I could like Visionary plus Repurposer. I think probably just Zan makes the most sense. It's the most power. It ramps. Here we hit for 7. Next turn we trap them. We have 11 power on board, plus we have a boarding party. So if they don't win, or unless they have like 2 snaps, we should be able to win here. I guess they could also just do an enormous Weather the Storm. Manamorphose, Thirsting Roots. Infectious Inquiry puts us to 3 poison. Thirsting Roots proliferates again. Steady Progress. And they concede, so we're able to win that game. Here we get Deglamours and Heritage Reclamations to go after their mana rocks. Ram Throughs are not going to be useful. Banner Hides are fine creatures, but honestly the Reinforce isn't super relevant. I think Zan is probably, these are just more utility, and we don't really need utility here, we just want speed and damage. This doesn't cast anything till turn 3, so that's not very speedy. This one's got Wild Growth and then Rumble. We're going to put back 1 forest here. Another Rumble. They play a Pentad Prism, which I'm definitely going to go after with the Deglamour. And a Contentious Plan. Another Wild Growth is nice. We would love a Utopia Sprawl, but I think we're going to Rumble and then also Deglamour with the spawn token here. Nothing here's amazing, but Sprawl does get us to Boarding Party. Or Mountain does too. We'll take the Sprawl, although if I want to cast it this turn, then I can't Deglamour. And I kind of think it's important enough. Without this, they don't have blue. They don't have much else going on. So I think we got to Deglamour this. Infectious Inquiry gives us a poison, but it doesn't proliferate, and so their peat bog is low. They find a Saprison Scary, so the chances are they're going to have proliferate on blue here. There's a boarding party. So let's sprawl this on red, and then we will Rumble. There's nothing cheap enough for red, so we'll just use that. Another boarding party. Well, I would have loved something a little bit more different here, just since we already have a bunch of parties. And once we use 1 spawn, unless we get more mana, technically we can't actually cast another one of these parties. Thirsting Roots and a Steady Progress. Cycle Alorian, and they're going to pass to us. Writhing Chrysalis. I can't Chrysalis and Boarding Party, and Boarding Party's a lot more damage faster, so we're definitely going to be doing that. So cast that into an Avenging Hunter. That is probably our best hit, because it makes it so we can cast another Boarding Party next turn. It also just means we have lethal next turn, pretty much no matter what, because Forge with what we already have on board is lethal. Even if they like snap one of these, another boarding party is lethal. They have another Prism, another Infectious Inquiry, and Thirsting Roots proliferate. And they're passing the turn. So snap, Moment's Peace, Weather the Storm are all possibilities here. I can't do much about a Moment's Peace, but we're just going to cast a boarding party in case it's a snap or a Weather the Storm, and we can just deal extra damage. Play a Visionary, draw a card, and we're going to attempt to swing for 19 damage here. Even if they have a Moment's Peace, at least it burns a couple triggers from the Prism, which is decent. Also pretty much forces them to leave up 3 mana Next turn, Manamorphose. Okay. Maybe it is a Weather the Storm then. Because Manamorphose into Weather. No. Okay. Moment's Peace still. Alright. That's annoying because it buys them 2 turns. We're going to sprawl this land. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they can survive next turn and then they have 2 turns to kill us and they'll only give us 5 more poison counters is all they need. They probably can get us there pretty easily. Another Prism. Thirsting Roots. Contentious Plan. Another Prism. Experimental Augury. If this whiffs, maybe we have a shot, but pretty tough for that to whiff. Another Augury, just 1 more proliferate spell will kill us. And another Augury, so they're able to get there. I think we need to be a little bit faster. On the play, Wild Growth and a bunch of 5 and 6 drops, not going to cut it. We finally have the Arbor Elf Sprawl start, which means a turn 2 Chrysalis. I think we put back this Wild Growth. Obviously, it could be even more mana, but turn 2 Chrysalis, and then I think Rumble to find something else after is pretty good. Start with the Arbor Elf. You even get another Wild Growth. So tap this for Utopia Sprawl on here for red. Tap this, Wild Growth it, untap it, tap, and play a Chrysalis. And next turn I have 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So I can play a Rumble and even play like a boarding party or something that I find. Heritage Reclamation, okay. I'm going to end up sacking one of these spawn probably anyway, just for a little bit extra damage. So let's just do this to start. Rumble. We do find a boarding party. That's exactly what we're going to take. Tap, untap, tap. Here's the party. Into another Rumble. Just going to take an Avenging Hunter and swing for what we're going to make 10 damage. That seems good. All right. They have 1 turn to come up with something. Obviously, a Moment's Peace would buy them a good amount of time. There's a Prism and a Plan. Play an island and pass. Nyxborn Hydra. Well, we're already dealing lethal, and I'd like to blow up the Prism as well. I guess if we just attack with Chrysalis and Boarding Party, technically this isn't lethal against a Weather the Storm, but I think I'm willing to take that chance. I don't want to Reclamation first on the Prism, because if they do Weather, then it's more life that they gain. There's the Moment's Peace. So now I could blow up the Prism, or I could just exile the Moment's Peace, which probably is better. Let's cast an Avenging Hunter. Honestly, it's a pretty tough call. I'm not exactly sure which is better, but we're going to go for exiling the Moment's Peace. And we're rewarded because we get a Deglamor, so I'm also going to use that on the Pentad Prism. If they now have a Weather the Storm, they can, I gave them a good amount of life. But if not, we're going to send that away and be in a pretty decent spot. They have a Steady Progress, choosing not to proliferate the Chrysalis, interestingly. And we win the match. Pretty nice start for us. All right, on the play here, Forest and Arbor Elf. Then we have Rumbles. It's not amazing, but we'll give it a try. We need more lands and Wild Growths to really pop off here, which is going to be tough unless we top deck one of them perfectly and then the Rumble into the other. Looks like we could be against more Jund. We get Zan, play a Rumble. I want to take Sprawl, but I think we need to take Forest because I can't develop the Sprawl this turn. Could even then Rumble again here to try to hit like a Sprawl or something for next turn. I think that's worth it. There is Sprawl. Yeah, I think that's good. They're going to cast down the Arbor Elf. That is pretty annoying, seeing as we needed that. They knew we had the Sprawl after all. I guess it makes sense. Play this on red here. So I could just cast a Chrysalis. The next turn I could Boarding Party. It's probably worth it. I could also attack with the Spawn. Play a Zan for cheaper, bouncing the Spawn. Then I only have 5 mana next turn, so I don't think that's quite as good. So let's just go for the Chrysalis. Spell Bomb is fine. And they play a Refurb. I think Zan is not what we need here. Another Forest. We're going to go for the Boarding Party. Cast another Chrysalis. Nice. Swing for 9 here. And we'll pass. Fanatical Offering. There's Spell Bomb. They're not going to draw because they're looking for Krark or Toxin Analysis. Or maybe both. But that's what they need to win. And they don't find it. So we win. So once again, we get these 6 in here. Cut Zan. I guess we did 5 of these. We ended up doing 5 and cutting the Rumbles. Rumble was really good right there. No lands is not going to work. This one's pretty decent. Turn 1, turn 2, we play Repurposer, turn 3. So I'm getting rid of Repurposer or a Reclamation. I think we got to do the Reclamation. If it was a Deglamor, I'd probably keep it, but there's no guarantee it can blow up a land. And so it's just got fewer uses. And if I don't hit a land for the next couple turns, which obviously we do right away, then Repurposers are going to be nice. I will say I played the Sprawl here, which is definitely the right call, but they could Wildfire it away, in which case we actually can't Repurpose her on turn 3, or turn 2 rather. We'll have to do it on turn 3. But they play another bridge, so that's nice for us. And a spell bomb. Kept the spell bombs in. Alright, this also means we have a turn 3 hunter, assuming they don't wildfire us still. They have a refurb. We're going to get rid of a repurposer. And another refurb. Ugh, so I guess hunter doesn't even look great here now. I mean, we're going to keep one of them, obviously. Trading this back and forth is not great, though. I mean, we have to get rid of a hunter, because I think if we're not playing this turn, then it's not really worth it. Wild growth doesn't change much. I should have put that on a different land because it gets less easily. Wild growth, wildfired. That's the one. If I'm lucky, they'll trade here. Don't actually expect that. Play the hunter, tutor up a forest, and we'll pass. They have another refurb. Lucky them. Swing with 2 of them to take the initiative. Crack their spell bomb, trying to find something, Krark or whatever. Even a cast down would be pretty good. They play a makeshift munitions. Okay, fair enough. Get another forest. Swing for 8. They're gonna take it. I could scry here, but then we lose the ability to trap. I feel like trap is our best bet. I'm gonna just put the counters on the hunter. Obviously this is worse if they have a cast down, but the repurposer gets chumped anyway, so it's not great for it to be bigger. I'm going to play my land because I probably don't have another refurb. Even if they do, though, I would like to have 6 lands for if we draw a boarding party. They have a Chrysalis. Swing with just 1 refurb to take the initiative back. If they forge onto the Chrysalis, it alone could block the hunter and absorb all the trample damage. Yeah, so that's a little annoying. And we get a sprawl. Well, I'm going to swing with both of these guys anyway. They block them both, and they ping the repurposer with a Vault of Whispers. They could have just thrown the other spawn at the hunter, because they're going to have to sack that anyway. But I guess they wanted to for some reason. I don't know. Alright, well, we're not in a great spot. I guess if we get a Hydra off the top on spawn, that's decent, but then again, they have a makeshift to pick off the spawn, so that wouldn't work. Boarding party's decent. Cascade into something. Oh, but they trap us. They can attack for 4. If they hadn't sacked that vault, they could just finish us with the makeshift. As is, they cannot, but it's going to be pretty tough for us to get there, I think. They attack for 4. We get a hunter, which can trap them, but then they just fly over, deal us damage. Munitions is going to kill us. We finally get an Emerald Charm in our opener, and it's when we have 2 Arbor Elves, nothing to ramp into, and no enchantments. So yeah, nothing to ramp into. I don't think this is going to work. This one's not very good either. Here we have no lands. I guess we're down to 4. Well, now I guess I have to keep a hand that's basically nothing to ramp into. I guess I could keep the Arbor Elf, but I think it's now with this few cards, it's probably better to just keep the Visionary, which still ramps us, but also draws us a new card. But that mulligan was brutal. Let's top deck an Avenging Hunter for a very good turn 3. They Cleansing Wildfire, but they target themselves. Come on, let's make them pay for that. Get a Hunter off the top. I guess a Chrysalis would be okay too, but not quite as strong. Wild Growth is kind of whatever. Play a Repurposer and swing for 2. Gixian Infiltrator. And they have the Cleansing Wildfire. Right, I shouldn't have put the second one on the same land. Can still play a Chrysalis here. Swing for 3. They have a Chrysalis as well. Sack their spawn to grow their guys, and they play a 3-mana Refurb. Okay. To Glamour, can get rid of Refurb. That doesn't do that much. Or I could get rid of the Bridge, which I think is probably better. They have a Forest anyway, so there's another Chrysalis and a Blood Fountain. Surprisingly, we're not going to be able to overtake them with only 4 cards in our starting hand. And we top deck a Forest. Unfortunately, just not going to cut it. All right, we're going to mulligan this no-lander. I guess this might be a turn 3 Chrysalis. Again, obviously this charm has just not been coming up when we've been wanting it to. I don't think this is good enough either. Here we go. If we can just top deck a land or some other ramp, this is a turn 3 Hunter, which is pretty bad against Faeries. So that's great. Scry 2 to the top, huh? Wild Growth. They have a Moon Circuit Hacker and Replay the Seer. Another Forest. I have a feeling a single Hunter is not going to get the job done in this match. They have a Ninja of the Deep Hours and they have the Moon Circuit Hacker. Draw a bunch. Well, I guess we will cast the one spell that we have. We'll add a Forest to our collection. They have Unable to Scream. I think we're just gonna concede there. We get Breath Weapon, and that's it. Get rid of a couple of these. No lands again. This one's alright. We're gonna keep get rid of one of the rumbles, play a wild growth, start with a Faeries here, Hydra. We're just gonna rumble here. Another forest or a boarding party. Well, I think we're gonna go with the... Next turn we can play a Chrysalis. I guess we'll take the forest. I could have played a 1 mana or a 2 mana Hydra for a 1/2 to block. That's something, but I decided against it. They get in for just 1 damage. Get another rumble. I think I'm just gonna cast this Chrysalis though. They got the counter spell. Fairy Miscreant. Swing for 1. Emerald Charm. Could make one of these guys lose flying. I think for now we're gonna just cast a boarding party though. Cascade into a Utopia Sprawl. Well, we'll cast that here if they want to spell stutter it. That's fine. They don't seem to care for that. Counter the boarding party. Swing for 2. Pass the turn. We get a forest. Let's start with the rumble. This they have a spell stutter for. So I'm gonna use the Emerald Charm for what I put it in here for, which is to ramp with this forest, which looks pretty bad here, especially if this gets countered, but we're gonna put some mana into this Hydra on this spawn, and we're just gonna leave it back. Technically I could like be winning the race a little bit there, but not for long, and especially not if they find a ninja. They bind the monster on the spawn, but they might not know that I can just sack the spawn and then block with the Hydra, so I'm going to do that. And we top deck a boarding party. That's pretty nice. Into a Utopia Sprawl. That's pretty unexciting. Boarding party comes down, though. I'm going to swing with both then. I guess if they have like a Brine Bear Intruder to chump the boarding party, it's not great there, but if they don't, which they did not, then it's a little better this way. So, all right. The Emerald Charm did a teeny tiny amount of work there. My goal is to try to make it so that I can get like a turn 3 Altasaur with it, you know? Alright, this hand is pretty good. Assuming our Arbor Elf doesn't get neutered right away, which it might. Scry 1 to the top. There's our Emerald Charm. Play the Arbor Elf. They snap in the Arbor Elf. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Swing for 1 and just leave up mana for a Spell Stutter Sprite. I'm going to Wild Growth. They could Spell Stutter this, but they know that the Arbor Elf is probably coming next. But this way I can cast an Arbor Elf. They can Spell Stutter it, and then I could play another Arbor Elf. Whereas if I had just played the Arbor Elf and they counter that, then I wouldn't have also gotten the Wild Growth down. So I think that's pretty good, since I knew one of them was going to get Spell Stuttered regardless. Take 2. They have the Ninja though. Moon Circuit on the Spell Stutter Sprite. Interestingly, the Emerald Charm can blow up a Moon Circuit Hacker because it is a non-aura enchantment. They don't have a land there, so we also... Okay, this is good. So, Forest, Sprawl onto this for red, tap, untap, tap for a Banner Hide, Crew Shock, and then I have the mana, so I should ram through something. But I don't think I want it to be the Hacker, because I can already blow up the Hacker. Probably the Fairy Seer then. So also if they attack with the Miscreant, I could Emerald Charm to make it lose flying of 1 mind. Well, that's kind of annoying. Almost makes me wish I blew this up already. Now if I try to make it lose flying, they could just Spell Stutter that. But then they're tapped out if I top deck anything. Although if I don't top deck anything, it's kind of not great. Play a Seer instead though. 1 to the top and another Fairy Miscreant. Well, that one does draw my card. Attack with this Miscreant. Do I care enough to actually eat this for just a full card? We already have 8 mana here, so I don't really need this to ramp. Yeah, I think we'll just... Why not? Target creature loses flying until end of turn. Haha. Bet you weren't expecting that. Got him. All right, something big. Nice. That's big. Altasaur into boarding party. Oh, it is! Into boarding party. Into Avenging Hunter. The trifecta. Oh my gosh, I did it. I don't think I've ever done that before. To be fair, I don't play this deck that often, but that's crazy value right there. Especially because this guy's got reach. Now we just get to attack for 10. This is messed up. I mean, this happens so infrequently, but when it does, oh, that's crazy. Of 1 mind. Draws them some cards. Unless they have like 3 Unable to Screams here, I think they're going to be toast. Even Bind the Monsters don't work because they'll be taking too much damage off of them. Alright, we win the match. Round 5 here. This one's too slow. Gonna mulligan. This one's good. Keep and get rid of... I need 2 forests for the Wild Growth thing to work, and since our plan is Crew Shocks, we're just going to get rid of the mountain. We can do turn 2 and turn 3 Crew Shock. Assuming they don't have counter spells, which they are blue something. I don't know what I hope it is. My first thought was I hope it's High Tide because I have a really fast start and they won't be interactive, but they'll probably be fast enough that they can just win, even with our fast Crew Shock start. So I don't really want that to be High Tide. I don't know what I want it to be. Brainstorm could mean anything. In their upkeep, they're going to cycle a Lorien, so could still be anything. Altasaur, something to strive for. We're going to Wild Growth. Tap, untap. Retap for a Banner Hide. Thought Scour. Okay, so it is in fact, Terror. They've already got 5 spells in their graveyard, including a Sleep of the Dead. Cycle a Lorien. They could just drop 2 terrors right here. There's 1. There's 2. All right. Chrysalis, but I can't cast that. I could cast another Cruise Shock, but 2 4/4s doesn't line up nicely. I could bestow a Hydra onto the Cruise Shock, but then they can Sleep of the Dead to tap it. Yeah, I think we're doing that, though, just to like make it a 7 power guy to kind of race, I guess. We'll attack, and if they want to trade this, that's fine. If not, they just get to Sleep of the Dead it. It's kind of bad either way. If we get red mana, Chrysalis helps to block a lot, but without it, this one's not looking great. They did the old turn 3 double terror. We're taking 10. They're going to Demon Inferior the Arbor Elf. I guess we'll put that on the bottom. Forest. Well, I guess if I attack, I just die, so I have to play this Cruise Shock and pass. Then they tap this. I have to chump here, and if we top deck a Mountain or a Utopia Sprawl, I can play a Chrysalis and survive for a turn. Can maybe get us to like Altasaur. Yeah, we have a very slim chance, but that could work. But if we get a Forest, that's not going to cut it. All right, well, that was crazy fast. We get Relics. I think that's it. Zan, again, looks not very good. Surprise, surprise. All right, we'll be on the play. We have a million Wild Growths and Sprawls. Sure, we'll give it a try. Since they're playing Demon Inferior, I'm going to hope and pray they're not playing Boomerang, because that would be very bad. Forest is good. Now let's just sprawl here. They have an annul. Okay, but I can Relic, tap that, and I can also sprawl again for red. Play an island and pass. Emerald Charm. I mean, this is what I'm here for. This is what this card is here for, is to untap this. Now, if they have a counterspell, a Boomerang, or whatever, it's not great. But if they let this go, then I get to at least cast the Boarding Party on turn 3. Maybe cascade into something better. Nope, it's a Wild Growth, so they'll just counter this and it won't be a big deal, I'm sure. I guess this is proof of concept, though. Hey, it resolved. That was the goal, is that it's kind of an Arbor Elf activation trigger that you can do off the top without having to have, get through Summoning Sickness and stuff like that. They Brainstorm and they Concede. I assume they didn't hit. They brainstorm locked themselves and did not find any removal spell, land, or shuffle effect or way to mill the top cards of their library. So I guess we're going to game 3. That means that the Emerald Charm worked. That means it must be the new best thing to do here. No, but it was kind of cool. That was what we were trying to do. A similar hand to last time. Double Relic. We're on the draw, though. So if our first Sprawl gets countered, it's pretty dang bad. But let's just give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? Arbor Elf turn 1. I guess that's better. It doesn't get annulled or spell pierced, and also makes it so our Sprawls can tap for more next turn. They Mental Note, a spell pierce, and a counterspell into the grave. They Ponder. Forest would be great. Another Relic is not the best. I could cast one. I mean, we got to start with the Sprawl here. They spell pierce that. I can't pay for it. I untap. I could Relic, but I can't pop a Relic. Oh, God. I'm going to lose to fast terrors with this many relics in my hand. Gonna be pretty upsetting, but I simply must play a Sprawl here on red, I guess. Like, they could cycle a Lorien or cast any 1-drop and then once again do 2 terrors. I guess I could play a Chrysalis next turn if they tap out, so that's pretty decent to block for a turn. There's a Lorien. There's a Brainstorm after the Lorien. They Demon Inferior. I mean, I'm gonna put that second from the top. It's not great, but it's not the worst because I can blow up their graveyard and they didn't get any terrors. That went second from the top and we just drew an Arbor Elf, which means there's 2 Arbor Elves here, which I don't really love because I would prefer to draw a land with this second one, but we got to exile the graveyards. If we can keep them off terrors for a couple turns, we might be able to get back into this. Thought Scour in their upkeep, Brainstorm, play an island, and Emerald Charm. I mean, that could ramp us 1 here. I'm going to cast a Relic, see if they want to counter this. They do, and I could cast another. I can Emerald Charm, untap this, cast another Relic, and pop it. I think it's better to probably just play an Arbor Elf here. They Thought Scour, hit 2 islands, so they still need 1 more spell for a free, or a 1-mana terror. There's a Delver, that's fine. Sleep of the Dead is annoying. Only 1 card left in hand, though. Forest, 3 mana. I could make it 4 with the Emerald Charm, but I think we just cast another Arbor Elf. That resolves. I'm gonna Relic them again for the 3rd time. Well, one of them got countered, but they're at 1 card in hand, Delver, and Sleep of the Dead's gone. We finally have our mana, and also they don't even know about this Emerald Charm that's going to make their Delver lose flying at some point. Okay, they top deck a Lorien Revealed. That's a pretty good card here to find. They cast it, obviously. And another Delver. Okay. Writhing Chrysalis. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Emerald Charm could make it 8. So I could like Writhing Chrysalis twice. Well, I could already Writhing Chrysalis twice. Yeah, let's just cast a Chrysalis, untap, cast another Chrysalis, and then Visionary as well. While they're tapped out, I might as well get a bunch of stuff down. And we have 2 giant blockers, so even 1 Endymion Inferior doesn't do a lot for them. Sleep of the Dead, they need to fill their graveyard again. They don't flip the Delver. Also, this is big enough to block a Terror if they get one of those, which they're going to pay 6 mana for a Serpent. Love to see it. Forest, let's play a Wild Growth here. Tap, untap. Tap again, we get a Boarding Party. Cascade into an Avenging Hunter. So I guess shields up. Still probably going to attack with this Boarding Party, and they concede. Oh, look at that. And we got a 4-1 with the deck, which did not feel like we were getting a 4-1 with it as we played it. It felt like we were losing a lot and mulliganing a lot, but the deck is strong, and this is even with us playing some janky cards. The Emerald Charm did finally come up a couple of times. I don't necessarily think it was the best thing ever, but it was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool. Zan did not really come up. It didn't come up a lot game 1, and it felt like it was usually a decent card to side out. Obviously, that's how it goes when you're trying out new cards. Visionary is kind of cool. It does give you that ramp. It does give you ramp while drawing you a card. Obviously, it's not as aggressive as like a Jewel Thief. But I think that's okay. And yeah, overall, the deck's pretty strong, even when you're playing a subpar version of it. Not a bad one to play at all. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my supporters, including my $10 supporters: Howard Granger, Laars, JMW, Rafa Rodriguez, JD NPX, Jason Golombuski, Halkaz, Cody Cowell, Ill Intent, and Lou Hauser. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you all next time.